Welcome back to another episode of Prepper Talk Radio. We're super excited to be on the radio with you guys today and to talk about some things that are coming up in the next couple of years, some of the things we're seeing on the horizon, some of the stuff that's going on in the news right now, and how that's going to play out over the next few years. Make sure that you hit up our website at preppertalkradio.com and that you see all of the different links that we have there available for you. There's some product services, some things that are there that we really do recommend and that you really will get some great benefit from. So make sure that you go to our website there. There's a resource tab where you can enter your email and download some free stuff that we've got available. Scott's been working diligently on some great downloadable material for you to be able to have at your as resources. So make sure you do that, and then hit up our Facebook group at Emergency Prep and Self-Reliance on Facebook. So we're also really excited to recommend and share with you Jase Medical. Jase Medical is one of those places where you can get your antibiotics. Antibiotics are really important, and they offer you a antibiotic supply called the Jase case. And we've all got ours. We did an interview a couple of podcasts ago with the CEO, and they've got a fantastic program. If you use the code Prepper Talk, that's Prepper Talk, all one word, Prepper Talk, you will get $10 off your order. So with that, let's jump into what do we think is going on right now. There's a lot in the news. There's a lot of stuff happening right now in the news specifically. Well, there's a lot of stuff. So we'll jump into it, I'm sure. But where do you guys want to start?
So by the time everyone's listening to this, this will be like, this is all week old news, right?
Mm-hmm. That's true.
But what's crazy to me is it's stuff we've been talking about as preparedness minded people, as preppers, as survivalists, as homesteaders, as whoever we are for like our entire lives, or as long as we've been awake. And we're watching all of this stuff happen real time going, is this
really happening? Is this
for real?
Yeah, it's still like the normalcy bias still kicks in. Like it's, we see things advancing and changing really every day, but that, the words that are kicked out to us is, the new normal, right? Haven't heard it for a while, but that's kind of been programmed into us. Everything you're seeing now is a new normal. So I think we sit back and say, okay, I don't need to be worried about this. I don't need to be concerned about this. But yeah, I think we went back and listened to a lot of things we've said over the years. We realize right now, man, we are that frog in that pot of boiling water. Maybe it's not boiling yet, right? But it's getting hot.
I think the bubbles are coming up.
I think we're feeling like it's a hot tub. Like we're like,
exactly.
This is nice. Bubbly.
Yeah.
It's not good. Let's just
that with the frog in the hot water, you of course the story goes, or it's not a parable, but you put a frog in a pot of boiling water, it'll jump right out. But you put it in cool water and you warm it up slowly, he'll cook to death in there, right? He won't jump out. Mm-hmm. I've never tried it. I don't know if that's true, but it sounds good to me. And I just think that's, where we're at right now. Things keep changing, and maybe we accept a little bit of it as normal, as, that's just the way that things are now. And there's definitely a danger in that, I think, for us who call ourselves preppers. And I'm not sure if I even like that term anymore. If we see those things, then we should be making steps. But if we're not taking steps, well, what the heck are we doing, right? I mean, if we feel the water getting hotter, like Scott was saying, this is a nice little hot tub. This actually feels kind of, we get normalized to it. And what do? We do anything about it, or just sit back on our butt and watch it go by?
And I think what's happening is there's so much media telling you that it is a hot tub. That you're like, okay, well, we'll just deal with it.
This is happening, but it's okay. This is happening, but it's actually good.
What's crazy is okay, so this week we've seen a president get toppled by a bicycle. Apparently the tires were overinflated like our economy. We've also seen, not Singapore. Sri Lanka? Whose government just completely...
Sri Lanka.
Sri Lanka is everything shut down. And now they're calling for changing of the guard of the entire government. That's not small news. That's big news.
Big news in Lithuania and Russia.
Big news in Lithuania. Then add the factor that we were just told yesterday in the news that there is a second pandemic that's coming.
That they're planning for.
We got
they're
to get
planning
money for
money
that.
for.
Got to get money for that now.
And it's like, how do you know it's coming?
Right.
Where's the public data? How do we really know what's going on? So I feel like, pardon me.
Yes, Scott. No, there we go.
He put on his tinfoil hat.
I feel like there's too much going on that's backing up the tinfoil hat movement, guys. Like, it really is. It's kind of crazy because, you know, I've been taught my entire life that there are groups, secret combinations, or groups of people, elites, that have their agendas for the world and think they have to do things a certain way. And they've got power because it's ancient organizations. But they only have so much power because there's other groups that are like, no, we don't like you. We want power. Right. And so knowing that's going on all around the world, knowing there's a huge push for from the United Nations and the World Health Organization for a one world government, knowing these things, it's like watching everything play out. Yeah.
Did you see
crazy.
what the president of the bank, the BIS, say recently, Bank of International Settlements?
No.
He's the big guy. He used to be, what was he? He's from Mexico, and I think he was the head of their central bank or something like that.
Okay.
I mean, big Mexican guy, and you know, obviously you can tell in his accent, but just the words that come out of his mouth, and I'm not going to try and quote him because I will just slaughter it, I'm sure, because I'm not prepared to cite that. But you should go look that up. Bank of International Settlements, what they said recently, and I will try and dig it up here during the show. But it was absolutely scary as heck. Like when you're saying, Scott, over the years, we have all these conspiracy theories. Now these elites are telling us to our face, we control the world. We are the elite, and this is what we're doing. And they're essentially compelling us to go along with it. It's right in front of our face. And who was it that said, if you got to tell a big enough lie and everybody will believe it? I think it came from Hitler or from Goebbels, right? You tell a big enough lie and everybody will believe it, essentially. And that's what we're seeing, I think, almost every day. It really inconceivable. I think it's so big, it's hard to comprehend really what is in front of us.
I think for so long myself, I've been looking at what's coming and what's going to happen and what's in the next 2 to 3 to 4 years, that every day I move forward and I'm always looking at the 2 to 3 years, not realizing, wait a minute, what's happening right now? And you know, I was just talking to my daughter who's going through a little bit of issue. And I said, look, you know, you can look back in life and you can look forward in life, but the reality is all we have is what's happening right now. It's the present, the current moment. So to go along with what you just said, Shane, there's a quote by Jamie Dimon or whatever.
Dimon. It's Dimon. Yeah. Dimon.
JP Morgan Chase. I said there's storm. This is what he says. I said there's storm clouds, but I'm going to change it. It's a hurricane. You'd better brace yourself.
Yeah. He said that a couple weeks ago.
June 1st. Yeah. That was just a couple of weeks ago. So we can't forget that, you know, sometimes we feel like a couple of weeks ago is like old news. No, that's still present. No, absolutely. That's still present tense.
It sure feels like it. Yeah. Oh, I look at certain podcasts. Oh, that was 4 days ago. That's old news. I want to hear what's going on right now. You know,
well, we've been changed. Our thinking has changed that way. It used to be a 7-day news cycle. I mean, I remember when I was a kid, it was a 7-day news cycle. Yeah, and then it became like a 24-hour news cycle. Now it's a 60-second news cycle. Mm-hmm. If it's not relevant in the last 60 seconds, oh, guys, I'm moving on. There's a new hashtag that's trending. That's what they've programmed society to do. Mm-hmm. And you look at what's going on. Okay, the hurricane that's coming financially. If you look at all the cryptocurrencies, they're tanking left and right. The stability in them is like none, like up and down and up and down. Our stock market, is it a bear or is it a bull?
It's a bunch of BS, that's for sure.
Right. But it's interesting. I heard this quote a while ago and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so true. When it's a bull, it's slowly coming up the stairs. Mm-hmm. But when it's a bear, it's out the window.
Out the window or down the elevator.
Or down the elevator.
Yeah.
I like the window better because the elevator could get stopped, and that's not really true to what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there's so much that's been pumped by the Fed into the economy that we're seeing all the backlashes of all that. And it was all intentional. We know it was, because they're trying to push a change in currency. So we have the financial issues, we have the food and food supply issues, we have over 10,000 cattle that died and instantly bloated. All the research I've ever done says that when you kill an animal, it takes usually 3 to 4 days for it to bloat, unless it was poisoned or unless something else happened to it that would cause bloating before death or bloating to die. So it's like really weird to me. I'm like, I don't understand that. And then we have the oil issue.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how much oil do we really have available? Because they shut people down during the COVID issues, and they couldn't produce as much, and so they couldn't keep up. And now they're shutting down the producers of it, and so they're already short-staffed, and now they've reduced the available oil that can be processed. So how much longer is it going to last?
And get this, I just heard this one, I think yesterday. The biggest, and maybe it was not the biggest, dairy farm in California, I think 14,000 cows, was bought out and shut down.
Oh, yeah.
Plowed over, and who knows what they're doing with it.
Wow.
But yeah, these things are intentional, absolutely intentional. If you can't see that, I don't know what to tell you. You're not looking hard enough, right? Again, it's that normalcy bias, or that, us being frogs sitting in this hot tub, right?
Right.
Wanting to be comfortable, wanting to have a normal life. I mean, I don't have to deal with this crap. Right. I want to go on, I want to go on vacation. I want to, take the family places, but it's $6 a gallon. You look at oil's going down a little bit, but gas prices just went up for me. I'm paying $5.50 a gallon for mid-grade, right? And
if you're not using mid-grade, you're killing your engine right now. Like the low grade fuel that's coming out is just horrible. There's a scientist that I follow, and he was showing us, he has this water test kit, and he actually takes the fuel, and before he puts it in his car, he fills this little tube, and he's got 10 milliliters of water in it.
Separates the ethanol. And
then what he does is he pours in the fuel, shakes it all up, lets it settle, and the ethanol is split out, and it was like he fills the whole thing to 100. So 90% of it's supposed to be fuel, 10% of it is water. When he's done, it was at 19% was water ethanol. The rest was actual fuel.
Wow.
That they're putting so much more in there than they ever did before. And he's like, this is why your fuel efficiency is going down.
Well, see, also long-term, what's going to happen is, with the higher content of ethanol in our gasoline, up to 30%, I guess that's supposed to be the new standard. It causes our motors to break down, to I guess to rust, to degrade. It's to corrode. That's the word I was looking for. 10% is bad. So, and typically like motorcycles or whatever that sit around and don't move, or lawnmowers, whatever, chainsaws, you want to use ethanol-free gasoline, which costs more, of course, but it's going to, potentially save your motor, especially if it's just sitting there and not doing much. These new gasolines are going to corrode our engines, which then it's harder to get parts, right? The supply chain is broken. All these little things are adding up. They're all adding up. And if you're not seeing every little piece of the puzzle, it's hard to comprehend, honestly. But if you do, it's difficult to comprehend that this could be happening right now, right in front of our faces. So the question is, what's next? What are we preparing for next? And when, and everybody wants to know when, tell us when. Why should I tell you when? Just get ready now. Right. My advice is step it up now. Don't make any excuses for, we still have time. I don't know when this is going to happen. Who knows what's going to happen? No excuses. Sell the boat, go through your house, find all those little things that you're not using that you can sell. Some people still have money, right? You can still sell things on your classifieds, local KSL or Craigslist or Facebook Marketplace, and sell those things that are just sitting around taking up space, and get some cash with it, and save that cash, or go get some gold and silver, or go get some more food, or whatever you need. And my advice, do it now. Don't wait. Do what you want. I mean,
if you can't eat it,
this is what I'm doing.
If you can't eat it and it's not creating cash flow, let it go. That's the simplest way to do it. Like moving everyone to more of a minimalist ideal of life, like pulling that consumerism plug out of your brain for a little while.
Mm-hmm.
My goodness, it frees up so much time when you're not focusing on what am I going to get next? What else do I want to buy? Oh, look, there's this vacation. Oh, look. Like when you start pulling that out of your mind and start thinking of like, how can I have a better quality of life? Really, truly, like you can start prepping and you'll find you have a better quality of life by focusing on these things, by unplugging from the digital connections and building a garden if you can, right? By looking at your bedroom and saying, I bet I can lift my bed up 12 inches and fit a whole bunch of food storage under there.
Well, the ability to disconnect from your physical possessions, to say, you know what, I don't need this. I have some kind of attraction to it, and that I bought it for some reason, but you know what, I'm going to let it go. I don't need it. It's only holding me back. It's making me a more worldly person, more physical. I don't need this in my life. And maybe the word need is an important word, right? We got to use our words wisely, right? Need versus want. Some things are needs, but most of the things that we get pushed on that are in the Walmarts and the stores are maybe wants, that maybe make our life a little more comfortable, right? But
well, how many products do you see out there where you don't know what it's for until they explain to you that there's a problem that you didn't know you had, and then you're like, oh,
like, oh yeah, I need that.
I gotta fix that. It's like WebMD. If you have any symptoms of anything, plug it into WebMD, and now you have a problem that you didn't know you had, and 1,000% of it is not right most of the time, right? I'm totally making up percentages here, but like I've got friends who are on WebMD all the time, and you're like, what did you? I think I have this disease.
I'm self-diagnosing.
Yeah. I'm like, what would make you feel a lot better? What? Turn off your computer.
Yeah.
Like really, like simplify your life. What are you eating? What kind of medications are you on? Like what is going on in your life, in your world, that you can simplify and find more peace? Because disconnect, man. Oh, reground yourself, get back in nature. Like go grow a garden, go plant some trees that are fruit trees in your yard. Like do something that's going to be longer lasting.
Yeah. Here's something that we've all kind of been talking a little about this a little bit. And, these our governmental agencies and the authorities have been telling us, oh, there's going to be power outages. We're going to have during the summer, we're going to have brownouts. We're going to have I forget the term, but there are going to be power outages. So as we get closer, and even it's kind of pushing towards August, September is when these are kind of expected. So my question is to all of you is, what are you going to do in the winter for heat? How are you going to heat your house?
I've heard more worries about the winter than I have for the summer.
Yeah. Exactly. Now to think about, was it last winter before in Texas, right? These poor people, they everything froze up. They don't have the kind of heat resources we have here in Utah. We're ready for cold weather up here, right? I mean, for the most part. Down there, they weren't.
Yeah, for the most part.
Yeah, for the most part. I mean, so what are you going to do to get ready for when the power goes out in winter?
Well,
do you have a wood burning stove in your house? I mean, what are you going to do?
I have an idea. You can go to the link in the description below and go get some Fortress clothing. That's what you can do.
Yeah.
And
that doesn't.
Unfortunately, this podcast is going to drop after the discount is over. But maybe I can get Dale to give us another discount. And so just be ready for whatever it is. But whatever it is,
that's awfully nice. You need to bundle up in your house, but how are you going to keep your pipes from freezing? Well, you're gonna need water. I mean, it's going to be miserable.
If there's a power outage, your pipes are going to lose their pressure.
Yeah,
potentially. I mean, what my plan? Let me tell you my plan. What I'm working on.
Okay.
And so this is on the top of my mind. This is what I'm working on. So, I've got a natural gas furnace, right? Mm-hmm. I'm pretty confident that's going to keep flowing. We haven't been warned about that yet. When the powers that be tell us, oh, there's a natural gas shortage, then I'm probably worry a little more about tearing out my natural gas stove insert, tear that out and put it in a wood burning stove, right? And so what I'm doing is working on getting my generator hooked up to my house so that I can power the furnace fan, I can power maybe the fridge, and I can turn on the natural gas fireplace.
Nice.
For absolute minimal. So I'm working on getting the right disconnects, the right connections, so that I can plug my generator directly into my house at the most simple way I can.
Yeah.
Now, is that a
That's
solar
smart.
bank, or is that a gas or propane?
Gas generator, just gas generator.
Gas and propane generator. Nice.
Yeah, I don't have a propane. So the one I showed you, Paris, that was gas and propane. That's pretty nice. So I'm thinking about that as well. But no, I've got a gas. I've got some gas stored up too. It's definitely not safe to store too much, right? You got to store it safely in a safe place, and you got to rotate it, and you got to add stable to it, so it doesn't go bad. There's gas. It sucks to store gas, and you can't store much. And it doesn't last long. And a generator needs a tank of gas about every 8 or 10 hours, right? That's a lot of gas to store. So I'm thinking about longer term as well. What can we do for those really cold days and we can turn the furnace on for a while and turn it off. Just make sure it stays above freezing in there, and then wear your warm clothing, right? Wear your fortress clothing in the house. Keep the pipes from freezing and keep the kids warm.
Well, the other thing is like you look at all the different ways to kind of keep your home warm. What's funny is I was looking through Family Search just the other day. At Family Search is a genealogy website, so familysearch.org. I was looking at my heritage, and one of my great three great grandfathers came here from Scotland with 4 of his 5 children. They ended up out in Utah, and they moved to Cache Valley. So they came to Salt Lake City and moved to Cache Valley. I grew up in Idaho, and so a lot of my relatives are from Utah originally, or somewhere along the line. But they moved in with some family friends that they knew from Scotland for a few months until they could get a dugout. Now, when I say the word dugout, what do you guys think?
Dirt.
Baseball, maybe.
Yeah, most people are going to think baseball, but dugouts were very popular. I've probably got 15 or 16 relatives that lived in dugouts. And so I was doing some research on the dugouts because I really want to understand these better. And basically what they're doing is they're digging 4 to 5 feet into the ground, straight down, and then they're pounding logs vertically into the ground. And then once the logs come above ground, then they lay them horizontally across the top and make a tiny in-ground cabin that you live in. And the geothermal benefits of being that deep underground and only having 2 to 3 feet above ground are fantastic. And what's funny is growing up in Idaho, I saw houses that were like that. And I thought, did they build a basement and forget the top of the house?
Yeah.
But they do it because it saves so much money in utilities. They're like, we don't need a full furnace. I'm like, wait, what? And I'm like, are we all living the wrong way?
Yeah, we are. Pretty much.
I think we are. I'm like, I would love to go build a dig-in home where it's like fully foundationed under like in a hill and be like a hobbit hole. You need so very little to heat a hobbit hole. I'm like, man, J.R. Tolkien, way to go. Like we can do so many different things to live easier. And
it's just not normal, right? That's not normal. It's not what everybody's doing, right? So it would look stupid if we dug a hole and built a house in it. You got to build one that looks like everybody else's, right? How
many kids had that cool like dream of like having a fort like that after watching the first Lord of the Rings or The Hobbit or or some other show that has it? But how many elites are building bunkers, right? A bunker is way more energy efficient, for thermal conduction. I mean, you just run a couple pipes away from the building in the dirt and back, and it'll focus on your cooling and heating and keeping your core temperature all the time. But we overcomplicate things, and why? It's because someone somewhere was like, hey, I'm going to create a new market and I'm going to sell everybody on it. Right. When gas got big, what was powering cars before gas?
Batteries.
What was powering cars before batteries?
Horses.
Hand crank.
Alcohol. The first cars ran on alcohol, and everybody could distill their own alcohol
No, there were steam
There's steam. There's steam too. So there's steam, and then there was alcohol, and then they had the batteries. And why did they get rid of the batteries? I still don't know. Same reason they got rid of the alcohol, and that's why prohibition happened. So they could get rid of that. What had nothing to do with people drinking.
Big business.
It had everything to do with taking out alcohol from vehicles and making everything run on oil, which is less efficient anyways. So now we're having this huge crisis where we can't get that. And all you electric car drivers are going to have the crisis of rolling brownouts and blackouts and everything else going on. So here's kind of what I see coming down the pipe. I don't see the major collapse this year or next year. I see a major collapse, but not the holy crap, now we have one world government and everything's there goes all your rights. I don't see that happening this year. I think that's kind of like we talked about last episode with Jester. I think that's maybe 10 years away. I don't know how far away, but not in the next 4 or 5 years. But I think what's going to happen in the next 4 or 5 years, we're going to have a major financial crisis continue. We're going to have the pandemic again of a different type, right? They're going to push another round of whatever on us, but we're going to lose. I believe we're going to lose the dollar in the next probably year to 2 years, if we don't lose it in the next couple of months. And that's going to force a major financial change in the world. And it's going to drive so many people into the poorhouse. And if you don't have food, there's going to be problems in your neighborhood.
Yeah, and I think it's going to continue to kind of stair step. So it moves slowly so that we all become accustomed to the changes and call it the new normal. And then there are these stair steps, these drops where like, oh, well, that was a shock. Yeah. I guess I'll get used to that. And then more change, slow change. But yeah, I think you're right, Scott. I don't see the big one for, I don't know if we're 10 years off. I think we're far less than that, but this year something big has happened. I mean, something or multiple things that are big that we should at least consider big, that may not be right in front of our face, but that are happening behind the scenes that we may not see the entire scope of it.
Yeah.
But if we dig, we might be able to understand a little bit better. So I think those things are happening behind the scenes, and which will continue to change our existence day by day, little by little, that most people will call normal. And we'll just, those of us who are watching need to stand up and say, I'm calling BS on this. No, we're not doing that.
Well, anyone that's listening, if you've been through a financial reset in your country, like, because there are people alive that have, I mean, it happens all the time. Oh, we're no longer using this currency, we're going to use this now. Who's gone through that here in the US in a long time? Nobody. Yeah. There's nobody alive that's gone through that. So if you guys, if any of you guys listening to this have experience with that, let us know. I mean, there's the run on the banks. It's going to be which is similar to the Depression era time. There's run on the banks. There's run on the stores. Hurry and get what you can while the money still has any value. Look at the example of Venezuela. They're breaking off pieces of gold to go get everything. Why? Because gold still has value. But the Venezuelan dollars and everything else are gone. It's useless. That could very well be here in the next couple of weeks to months. It's never that far away. It's the question is when, and what's that going to do? Those of you who are like, hey, I got all my investments, we're good. What's going to happen to those investments? What's going to happen to the value of those investments? I'm like, what's going to happen to the value of my stuff? What will I then be able to trade or exchange? I'm kind of excited for the price of diesel trucks to go down. But I'm like, but then once the diesel's gone, what am I going to do with a diesel truck? I'm not going to be able to buy one because I won't have gas. I won't have fuel, not gas, fuel. So what is that really going to look like for us? I mean, Parrish, you're the money guy out of the three of us. Shane, I look at Shane and he's the gold and silver guy. Parrish, you're the money guy. You understand the markets better than I would pretty much everybody else I talk to. But like, what's that going to do in the markets if we drop the dollar?
It's going to have a huge collapse because we're going to have to reset to whatever the new world currency is going to end up being. And they're trying to do that. The curve right now, if you look at the curve as economies rise and economies decline, there is a sharp kind of a drop off, but I think we're still on a slope and we're not quite yet to that drop off. So, my personal opinion is right now stocks. So there's a lot of things that are going on, and nothing is in a vacuum. You have to kind of, if you see one thing and you think that's the one thing, you're just literally looking at the tree thinking it's the whole forest. And you have to recognize that there's other trees in the forest and kind of coordinate what you're thinking about everything that's going on. And so I see of the political stuff that's happening right now, they pushed things too far with this whole agenda. With a gasp, so many people are finally actually waking up. I think that we're going to see a huge switch over in the government of the United States and America. We're going to take back the House. The conservatives are going to take back the House and the Senate. And we're going to start to see some of these people that are fighting right now to be senators, and some of their platforms. I hope that and some of these guys are just moms and dads coming up. They're not like career politicians that are coming out of the woodwork right now, which is another evidence that people are waking up more and more, and they're rallying behind these regular everyday people, which is what the whole Constitution was built upon. Regular everyday people kind of being our representatives and then going back to their farms when they were done with their term of service. Today, it's like you go and you get a term and then you do another one, and they were career politicians. And that's not what we're supposed to do. So, by the end of this year, I see that in January, we're going to see in the election in November, if we get to switch the House over January of next year, we're going to start seeing some stuff happen where they're going to start to pull the reins way back and start correcting some of this stuff. But between now and then, I think the liberals are going to just go all out and try to do crazy stuff to while they're still in power.
Yeah, we're already seeing it.
And the thing is, the conservatives, we woke up like, wait a minute, it's time for the conservatives to stop sitting by idly saying everything's going to be okay. We're going to get a savior in there. It's going to fix it. No, we're the guys that are supposed to do it. So in the next year, I would say if we're going to see a little bit of rough times, there's going to be some rough waters. Is it going to be a full collapse? I don't think that they can fully collapse it and in time for the January rollover and changeover. And if we can get good people in there in January next year, I think we're going to start to see the tide turn a little bit and maybe level off for a little while, even more. But eventually, if you read the Bible like we do, economics collapse is going to happen at some point. It's just a matter of when. And this ebb and flow stuff kind of freaks people out and says, oh, well, everybody's freaking out right now because we see the decline. So we're all like, let's do it. And then all of a sudden it's going to level off and everybody's going to say, oh, it's leveling off. It's great. No, keep doing the things that you're supposed to do, because it will drop off again. And you want to be ready during that next leveling and getting ready, even more ready. And I think that before I end here, I want to go back to what we were talking about earlier about spending time. Right now, if you're spending so much time watching TV and the next episode of this, and you're binging on Netflix and you're doing all the other stuff, you're literally wasting valuable minutes that you could be learning a skill. What skill could you learn that would be valuable in the next, let's say the economy collapses next month, what skill do you think would be necessary? Go learn that. Go figure out what you're good at, and then and then hopefully your next door neighbor's learning a skill, and the two of you can combine your skills and you can have what you need. So take the time necessary the time that you have, learn a skill. And I'm talking to myself right now. Like, I need to learn a skill. I need to spend less time goofing around and more time learning a skill that's going to be valuable in the next wave here.
I have a hard time believing you goof around at all, Paris. It's all well-used time.
Well,
I goof around. I've got a 3-year-old and a 5-year-old, so I spend as much time goofing around as possible.
Yeah, that's valuable stuff.
But that's the most valuable time for me, right?
Certainly.
I think you're right though, Paris. Like getting skill sets right now are more valuable than anything else, and that leads to community, and we'll talk about that in another episode. But barter and trade are the best resource exchanges, in my opinion. If you've got something that you don't necessarily need and you can trade it for something you do need, and somebody else needs what you have and has what you need, problem solved.
Yep.
If you have a skill that can fix somebody else's problem, a real problem. I have a hole in my roof. Hey, I can shingle. I can repair that. Oh, I need this window fixed. Oh, my stove's not working. Oh, whatever. Like, I can fix a car. Well, maybe there won't be fuel at that point. I don't know. But if you can learn these things, everyone can learn how to garden and can learn how to do animal husbandry, which is taking care of livestock, right? Those are the types of things that you can start learning now and putting into practice now that are actually going to pay off every month. If you get some birds and they're producing eggs, boom, your ROI is through the roof, especially when when the dollar change goes even further. Like I've heard people saying that it's $8 for a dozen eggs in places, and I'm like,
wow,
what? Like, find your local guys that have chickens that sell the eggs, and you're going to save money. You're going to have a better product anyways, and find out what they need and see if they'll be willing to trade for stuff. See if they'll let you come work for stuff. Like there's going to be so many options. You know, there are so many options now. So Paris is right. Like go learn some skills that are transferable. Skills that you can help other people with. If you're in the medical field, man, you're going to be valuable for a long, long time, especially if you know all the natural remedies. Man, you're going to be in business for a long time.
I mean, it was only 6 months ago or so, but it's still, you know, again, that's old news. 6 months ago, actually, it wasn't. I remember sitting, watching, and listening to some of these guys on Capitol Hill talk about, hey, everybody, all you conservatives out there, and he was addressing specifically the military who was getting discharged dishonorably because they weren't taking, you know, the stuff in their body that they weren't, they didn't want to take. And he turned around, he told the camera, he says, hold on tight for a year. I know it's going to be rough. I know it's going to be tough, but hold tight for a year because January 2023, we're going to come around. We're going to make it all right. And, you know, if it was another politician just talking out of his, you know, where, I don't know, but it just felt good to me. Like there's some good people in there and we're going to turn the ship around. It felt good to me. And it felt like it was something that was going to really happen. And it may not be what we all want, but I think it'll be enough to kind of curb the tide. And so financially, my particular advice, if I was to talk to somebody right now about financial planning, I would say get food storage, get your water storage, get some hard assets that you can trade and you can barter with, even if that's cans, more cans of beans, or if it's gold and silver, which I like gold and silver.
Right.
And then if you have extra money you're goofing around with, yeah, throw it in the market, buy a couple dividend paying stocks or something. That way, at least you earn a little bit of money while you're, if the value is going down, at least you're earning the dividend. At least you got that dividend still coming in, and that's nice to have. And that's the way I do it with my personal finances anyway. So definitely think that there's some stuff coming and we need to be ready for it.
Amen.
Here's 2 cents that I guess I have is only way we become strong is when we have something to push against, right? Something that we're resisting, right? I would say use this opportunity to get strong, right? To stay strong. Don't see all the hard times and get discouraged. Use those to fuel to maybe get angry, maybe get ornery, you know, and push against it. And that'll make you stronger. And then when, if things, you know, get a little easier first next year, great. You know, don't use that time to get even more prepared because it's just going to be a short time, but use every moment you have to get ready and to be stronger physically and mentally.
And spiritually.
Absolutely.
That quote comes to mind. Hard times make strong men. Strong men make good times. Good times make weak men. And weak men make hard times.
We just have to choose, right? Who are we? Are we that strong man? We're going to make good times.
Absolutely.
And who do you want to stay? Who do you want to be? Who do you want to be? And who do you want your children to be? The adversity and failure are the greatest teachers in life. And without the bad, you don't know how good the good is.
Amen to that.
Yeah. There's a law in the scriptures we learn about. It's called the law of opposition. And you can't have great light unless you have great darkness. The sun at noonday is juxtaposed by the moon or the darkness of the midnight. You can't have those types of things. So as some of you are listening and you're thinking to yourself, man, this is so much going on. There's so much darkness and there's so much, you know, hate and so many just bad things happening in the world. And the reality is that's true. That is true. However, it's also true that there are good things that are going to come from this. There's going to be that light that's going to build and grow, and that darkness is going to continue to do its thing. But I recommend, and we all talk about this on a regular basis, is be the light, be the hope, be that faith. Because we all know that at the end of the day, if you read the Bible, we all know at the end of the day who wins. It's Christ. Christ wins, and he takes care of all this stuff, and he'll come and clean up all the darkness. So what team are you on? I'm on Team Christ, and I'm going to fight for him. And in fighting for him, it's about loving others, serving others, being kind to others, being ready, being prepared, and being diligent and resilient and relentless in our
Steadfast.
pursuit, and steadfast in our pursuit of things and all things that are good. And so I hope that you guys are listening to this, knowing and recognizing that we don't want to stick our head in the sand, but we want to recognize that there is some bad things happening in the world, but that doesn't mean that's where we got to be. We can be with the good stuff. We can be in serving others and helping others and working to develop a community where we can actually grow and overcome and be stronger than all of this and be stronger for it and because of it.
Mm-hmm.
And so once again, thank you guys so much for being on the podcast with us and spending your time with us. We really appreciate it. We hope that you enjoyed this podcast like we did. We look forward to seeing you in our community on Facebook. We look forward to seeing you in our emails so that we can communicate and participate. And hopefully we got some events coming up. We got some things that we're going to start talking about. So hopefully stay tuned for that. But thank you so much. Get ready, stay ready, and be ready. And with that, we'll sign off for the week.